Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
Uncle Gary's here and he's saving his energy for Friday, and he's just told me that I'll be speaking with him on Invasion Day, so make sure you come out. Show your support if you're a Palestinian. If you're here in support of us, you've got to be here in support of our black brothers and sisters. There is nothing to celebrate on Invasion Day. Next up is a woman. If you've been reading the papers, you've heard about lawyers for Israel and the campaign they had against Antoinette Latouche about making the ABC an unsafe place. They've made other reporters resign from there. Other ABC people have confidentially reached out to me and said, you've got to help me find another job. I can't work here. It's not safe working here as a brown person. Our ABC has been corrupted. Clem Ford was doxxed by these same people. Shame. Clem Ford has not wavered in her support for us, has not kowtowed or bent to that pressure. She's a writer, a broadcaster. She lives here on unceded lands of the Wurundjeri people. A big hand for Clem Ford.
I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are on the unceded lands of the Wurundjeri people. It is stolen land. Next week marks 236 years of the violent settler colonialist project that we call Australia. Shame indeed. And we don't have much time left, so I'll get straight to this. The last time I had the privilege of standing on this stage amongst incredible activists and leaders, I spoke about truth. The truth that Israel has, for 75 years, been exerting deliberate and protracted campaigns of violence and dehumanization against Palestinians who are increasingly strangled on their own land. And when I type protracted into my computer, it autocorrects to protected. Of course, this is true as well, that while enacting this incomprehensible, sustained, calculated and psychotic violence against Palestinian people, more than 25,000 of whom have been slaughtered by Israel in less than 4 months. Israel has also been uniquely protected from not only having to face consequences for it, but having to admit to it happening at all. From having to admit to that concerted effort over 75 years to ethnically cleanse Palestine of its people. Not a land without a people. Not a land without a people who very much existed and will always exist. From having to admit to imprisoning thousands of them without charge, to legally sanctioning the construction of illegal settlements, to enabling the theft of people's homes, the bombing of refugee camps, the murder of children in the occupied West Bank, the highest number of which had already been documented by September of last year. Shame. And now finally to enact a brutal and extremely well-documented genocide in Gaza that has, as I said, slaughtered more than 25,000 people in less than 4 months, and they have the audacity to say that it is not happening. In the past 107 days, millions and millions of people around the world have had their eyes opened to truth. We can see that it is happening. The truth has set us free, and in being set free, we set to work to free Palestine. So today, instead of speaking about truth, I want to talk about lies. And specifically, I want to talk about how lies are concealed within passive language, emotional manipulation, and what we are told is how things have always been. Now, I'm a writer, and as a writer, I know how and why certain words are chosen, and what they're meant to prompt in a person's response. We can see across the board how this is done. The media's representation of pro-Palestinian protesters and supporters as violent, as inherently anti-Semitic, as terrorists. And all of these examples are becoming more and more obvious as the shrieking cries of a system in decline. But I'm just going to cover 3 examples. First, the term the peace process. For decades, commentators and politicians who are invested in the survival of Israel as a colonialist, imperialist project have hidden behind the term peace process to cultivate the view that peace in the region is complicated. And that in its complicated messiness, it sounds neat and tidy. It's not that we don't want peace, it's just that there's a process to get to it. And as we've certainly always had enforced to us through the dominant narrative in the Western media, it is Palestine that's obstructing that process. As if Palestine and its people erected their own checkpoints, their own apartheid system, their own air, land and sea blockades, their settlement movements that are still forcing people from homes that they've had in their families for generations. As if it was Palestine that bombed its own international airport in Gaza in 2001, bombed its own hospitals, and just this week bombed its own university, looted 3,000 artifacts, and razed it to the ground. As if Palestine has been responsible for the fact 91% of its children have PTSD. That it's a nation of orphans, a graveyard of children. As if it's Palestine who's responsible for blocking peace by murdering 10,000 of its own children since October 7th. 1 every 15 minutes. 4 Palestinian children between the beginning of these speeches and the end. It is Israel who has all of the military power and colonial intentions, and it's Israel who is assaulting Palestine. But the term peace process implies an equality between players, and that the rights of each to negotiate terms. There can be no peace process between an oppressed and brutalized people and a colonizing force that boasts almost total support of the imperialist Western world, not to mention its extensive military funding. There can be no peace process when the most powerful of those 2 players is able to perpetrate a genocide in front of the entire world and be reinforced repeatedly in its delusional claim that this is self-defense. This is how a nation lies, through misdirection. 3 days ago, Senator Penny Wong, and what a fucking disappointment she's turned out to be. 3 days ago, she posted a 3-paragraph caption on Instagram in which she referenced settler colonial violence in the occupied West Bank and did not mention Israel once. Instead, she talked about those affected and their experiences, as if settler colonial violence is an external phenomenon, an unavoidable weather pattern, an act of Mother Nature, destructive and tragic, but sadly out of our hands. Certainly not something orchestrated and condoned by the State of Israel, who sanctions the building of illegal settlements and who holds in its own Knesset government as senior ministers, leaders of those movements. Leaders who hand out military weapons to settler civilians and instruct them to keep order. No, it's just another tragic misfortune the Palestinians bring on themselves. And that is how a nation lies, through concealment. But we're not allowed to name any of these lies. At the end of last year, I was warned by an employer to be careful because they had heard that a group of lawyers were looking to take a high-profile test case to the Human Rights Commission, and my name had been floated as a possibility. We have been warned, all of us, repeatedly, that to name the crimes of Israel is an egregious act of anti-Semitism. And this is the lie of erasure, because it erases not only the truth of Israel's crimes, but the existence of our anti-Zionist Jewish brothers, sisters, and fellow humans who know that never again means never again for anybody. I reject wholeheartedly not just the mendacious claim that I or anyone here fighting for Palestinian liberation is anti-Semitic, but that also opposing the military slaughter of over 25,000 people is an act of anti-Semitism. As the granddaughter myself of a Lithuanian concentration camp survivor, I stand proudly alongside generations of Jewish freedom fighters who have advocated for the liberation of Palestinian people, and I am led by Palestinian people who tell me what they need to be free. Courage calls to courage everywhere, and if the consequence of any of us demonstrating courage is to lose our livelihoods, then we shall walk into the unknown with our integrity intact and our moral compass to lead the way. I want to finish by talking about one more lie. The lie of the human shield. That somehow Israel isn't committing a genocide against Palestinians because they're asking for it by simply being in the way. And that is how a nation lies through Davo. Deny, attack, reverse victim order. Tell me something. If you believe that the shields are made of humans, why do you keep launching bombs at them? I gave my son a book on Palestine the other day, and he read it and he said, I really liked that, Mum. He's 7. He said, I want to make a poster. And he went and he drew a poster of the Palestinian flag and he wrote Free Palestine on it and said he wanted to put it out the front of our house. He's 7. He's proud of his work, but I said to him, you have to know that some people are not going to like this, and they might tear the poster down. What do we do if that happens? And he said, well, I'll be okay with it. And I said, no, we make 2 more posters, and we put them up. And if they tear down 2, we make 4. The world has woken up to the lies that we've been told. Lies that have kept many of us for decades participating in the violence of the Israeli settler colonial complex and being complicit in the silence of naming it. And do you know what has been created as a result of us unlearning those lies? Millions and millions of human shields. We are all human shields. Every single one of us present here today, either in body or spirit. We have seen the power of being a human shield against oppression, against violence, against imperialism, and against all of the lies that are told to keep these systems in place. We will stand between those systems and the people they are seeking to harm, and we will be a shield for justice. And if they tear one of us down, 2 rise up in their place. If they tear 2 of us down, 4 more rise up. If you destroy 4 of us, you create 8 more. They cannot stop this movement. We will not stop fighting for Palestine. From the river of our voices to the sea of human shields we have become. We will not back down until Palestine is free. From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Free Palestine until it's free. Thank you.
Come forward, everyone! Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free
Now,
Palestine.
free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine.
Now, my friends, it's so important for us to understand what allyship is. Allyship is creating space for your allies.